Hello again. Welcome as we jump back into our podcast of how to study, well, literally how to study the Bible, looking at study tips and methods of actually jumping in so that you can know for yourself what the Bible says under His guidance more than people's, including mine. My goal is literally to work myself out of a job. Um, well, not really, but the more that we become a community of people discussing the Bible and being able to seek Him genuinely, wholeheartedly, the better we become. And I love that. And the reason I'm doing what I'm doing with this podcast is simply because I want to help equip you um, so that you're closer to God without needing a ton of different people's opinions. I want you to be able to form your thoughts on what the Bible says for yourself. Now, a lot of people have come to me and asked me about reading order recommendations. So, where do you start if you're just beginning this journey? Well, I really like recommending starting from the book of Mark. Now, in the book of Mark, we see the life of Jesus. And you've probably already been able to determine that Jesus is the key figure in Christianity. I mean, he's Jesus Christ, and Christ is in Christianity, Christ is in Christmas, and all that. But in the book of Mark, we see the author, John Mark, who is writing to mostly non-Jewish Christians. Christians spread beyond that Jerusalem area. And his whole point was to encourage readers to persevere through suffering and trial. But he gives us perhaps the earliest gospel, the earliest good news documentation of the life of Christ. And it's a good way to begin your journey understanding who Jesus is. Now, if you're beginning out and this is your first time reading through the Bible, I want to encourage you with one tiny bit of knowledge or idea. I'll put it this way. Don't just try to crank out reading the Bible. If you're having a hard time reading through a section, go ahead, crank that out. But pray, asking God to show you what the Bible is meant to say to where you are at this time in your life. Pray, I'm going to say it again, pray that God shows you what He meant to say to you in this time period in your life. That growth is going to come at different stages. So the more that you study the Bible, the more you're going to see that the Bible actually interlocks. And it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. So if you're just trying to plow through the Bible, you're going to miss a lot. I want to encourage you to study the Bible. You're going to find things that are deeply disturbing. I just want to give you that caution. Not because God is disturbing or because Christianity is disturbing or because the Bible is disturbing, but because we're disturbing. We're people. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If I was to have complete knowledge of you and your past and your current life, there would be things that you'd be uncomfortable with me knowing. And by the way, that probably goes both ways. Just because I'm a preacher doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I'm not. I'm trying my best, just like you are, to to live a good life and to try and leave this world a better place. At least I hope that you're trying to do that. That's what my goal is. That's why I get out of bed in the morning, is I want to try and leave this place a better place. And to do that, I've come to realize I need the Lord to guide me. And he wants that relationship with me. And he wants that with you too. It's not just exclusionary, for me, it's something he wants from everyone. He desires to know us and to be known by us. So I suggest starting with the basics in Mark. Mark shows us who Jesus is. Reads through pretty plainly, pretty easily. If you missed it, I just did a podcast previously on translations and versions. If you're wondering which type to choose, if you're going shopping or looking for a Bible, reference that podcast, or even just simply, direct message me. I'm on Facebook Messenger. I'm on Instagram Messenger. Or if you even happen to know me, just text. That's fine. But as we look at how to study through the Bible, there are all sorts of different plans out there. Now, when I was young, I sound like I'm so old. When I was a young man, we used to have printouts that our church would sit out, and I would look at that, and I would go through the Bible in a year based upon a checklist by day. Now we have the internet, and you can find what you want on the internet. So I've got a breakdown of different types of Bible readings, and I'll give credit to where credit is due. Google AI, I give you a lot of credit in giving me these options. And AI, if you heard me say that, I'm a little bit scared. But anyway, nothing really compares to what my mom once taught me. She taught me that the best way, in her opinion, to read through the Bible was to begin at Matthew, to read all the way through Revelation, and then to go back to Genesis and read through the end of the Old Testament in Malachi. And I asked her why she thought that was best. She said, when you start with Matthew, if your goal is to read all the way through the Bible, not just get an introduction like reading the book of Mark, but if you want to read through the Bible, study through the Bible, it helps when you begin and end with Jesus. When you start with Matthew, bathing each day in prayer and bathing your study in prayer, what's cool is you see God's plan the whole time. You start with the life of Christ and you go all the way through to the end of time in Revelation, and you start at the beginning with the creation account when the world and really the universe was created, and you see what is a gigantic plan to bring Jesus, through the age of the patriarchs, through the age of Moses, through the age of the judges and the kings and the prophets. You see God's plan come out of the pages, and it all leads or comes from Jesus. Because he is the one who made the way for all sinners of all time who accept him as Lord and Christ to be saved. A little side note. How can Jesus save someone before anyone knew him? They lived by faith. Comes down to that simply. Um, the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, gives us a long list of people who lived by faith and because of their faith acted accordingly. And you say, John, well, I live by faith. Well, no, sometimes we live because of selfishness, because we want what we want, you know. The Bible, as you study it, shows us that God wants what's best for us. And nothing is better than, first of all, a right relationship with Him, which was taken care of through Jesus Christ. Before Jesus Christ came as a man, Jesus Christ still existed as part of God. And now we're going into some deep theology that we'll save for another day. But you see the plan unfold when you actually start in Matthew, and then you see how God's leading up to him from Genesis to Malachi. It's beautiful. And it's a joy the more you do it. Mom was the one who suggested that, and she made sure in her entire life to go through the Bible. She actually read through the Bible at least one time per decade of her life. And I can't tell you the amount of times where I'd get up in the night, get a drink of water or something as a teenager, and her bedroom door would be open and it light would still be on. And there she'd be, literally falling asleep on her Bible. Now, she's not a saint, don't get me wrong. She's far from imperfect. Well, she's, gone on now. But she had some really good wisdom. Now, getting to other Bible plans that can help you read through the Bible as you study, which is what I hope you do. There are 1-year plans that divide the Bible evenly amongst the 365 days that you can read through. You can just Google that. You can find those. There's also chronological plans. That is, the Bible is not organized in a way where it's chronological. Genesis may be the beginning, Revelation may be the ending, but the Bible bounces around history a little bit because it's not grouped and organized together in a chronological way. So there are chronological plans that people have figured out online. You can look up chronological plan and you can actually read through it like that. If you really want to crank out the Bible and go through it, there are 6-month plans online too you can access. There are focused reading plans too. Like if you want to go through the New Testament, there are plans for just going through the New Testament. There are book at a time plans. There's also the story plan. In fact, the story was a Bible that was put out a long time ago that was organized differently than the known canon or acceptable group of books of the Bible. It was reorganized differently, and you can find the story online as well. There are other types of reading plans. There's a classic reading plan, and it had a specific name. I couldn't even pronounce it, but oftentimes you'll see on a given day's reading, a chunk of the Old Testament, a section of the New Testament, a chapter of Psalms or something, and then fourthly, a reading from the Gospels. So you would likely read Genesis chapters 1 through 2, and then you might read Matthew chapter 1, and then you might read Psalm chapter 1, and then you might read Acts chapter 1, in the same day, and then it would progress accordingly, based upon the length of the Old Testament, the length of the Psalms, and the length of the Gospels, and the length of the New Testament letters. And then there are plans that are really more like study. They're called immersion plans, where you spend long hours in study and prayer, reading almost at a spoken rate. There's so many different types, and you can choose basically based upon where you're at, the level of challenge. And I just want to encourage you, don't be easily discouraged. If you skip a day, you skip a day. You can try to make it up, but don't beat yourself up if you can't. Just keep on going. Every day is a new opportunity to keep going. And if you don't finish your plan or you're way behind, just adjust the date and just keep on going. Every day is a new day. That was something that really tripped me up when I was a kid. I say when I was a kid, probably 13, 14, even preteen, going back before that. If I really botched up, I would feel so guilty because I missed a day or two and tried to make it up, that I would try to make it up, say like on a Saturday, because 3 of my school days were so crammed with homework and extracurricular activities, I didn't get to it before I fell asleep at night, or I fell asleep at night doing it. And I would be so racked with guilt. Don't do that to yourself. Just don't do that. Every day is an opportunity, and just adjust. It's okay. The Lord wants you, not your perfection. He wants you to love him and to seek him. He doesn't want your guilt. He sent his son to die for your guilt. So how do we choose a Bible reading plan if we've got this many options out there? Check and see your time commitment. So some plans require more time each day than others. Maybe you're at a season in life where your schedule's wide open. Okay, maybe you can slot more time, and maybe you're more disciplined, or maybe you're more of a reader than others. Perfect. Maybe you got a pretty full schedule. You don't have to crank out reading the Bible in a year. You can stretch it out. I mean, again, Google is free, at least for now. You can look up what you need to based upon your time commitment. Consider your experience too. So if you're new to Bible reading, do a plan that reads a few chapters daily at max, or that focuses on the New Testament, just because it's easier reading and smoother reading, and things are explained a little bit more thoroughly in the New Testament. Consider your personal preferences. Like, do you like reading in chronological order like stories? Or do you like to focus on a specific theme? Or would you like to read a mix of Old and New Testament passages just to mix it up a little bit? If you like the latter, look for classic Bible study plans. You can check out different resources. Websites like Bible Study Tools, Bible.com. There's the Bible app on your phone. They give you a lot of options. Just be careful that, and I established this in another podcast, make sure that you're looking at the Bible itself as inspired and not just what people say about the Bible. Scholars, theologians, authors of books about stuff. Make sure you dive into the Bible itself. And mankind can help you understand stuff, but at the same time, like my thoughts, even if I was an established author, even if I had my doctorate in something or other, I'm still a human, not necessarily divinely inspired, like say that of Moses, who is said to have written Genesis Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, or like John Mark, who wrote the book of Mark, or Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. I'm not that caliber of divinely inspired. I'll give you my thoughts, just like you'll give me your thoughts on stuff. And that's okay. We're people. In Proverbs, I think it's Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But basically, that's what we're here to do, is to help each other understand and grow as people seeking him. And I'm going to give you some more tips here, just not on how to choose a plan, but how to help make Bible reading and study a habit, so that it gets easier and easier and easier as you start to enjoy it more and more and more. First of all, set aside a specific time. I know sometimes our schedules are insane. Sometimes they get all mixed up. If you're a young family, you got kids that have different sports schedules and there are different time periods. Schedule a time each day before or after. And then each day stick to it at that time. Maybe you're one of those guys who's disciplined, gets up at 4 a.m. to be working out at the gym at 5 a.m. Okay. You can do that. Carve out time to read the Bible. Seriously, 5 to 10 minutes. You can get so much read. Use a Bible reading app. Many Bible reading apps have built-in plans. Again, I referenced the Bible app earlier. I've got a variety of them. This is the Bible app. Tons of different reading plans on here. I have, as a preacher, I've got the Logos app. There are plans on there. There is the Bible study app. And you can just keep on going. You can just put it in the App Store, whether you have iPhone or Samsung or whatever, and you can put it in your App Store, Bible study apps, Bible reading plan apps, and they'll just turn out a list of things that you can choose. You also have something on here that we don't take advantage of enough in this way. Set reminders in your calendar on your phone to help you stay on track. Like, I think I'm good right now without having an alarm kick off anytime soon. But that is one thing I always think about in a podcast. Do I have an alarm set to go off about the same time that we're recording? I don't. And also make it a daily practice. This is my tip. I know you want to schedule a time each day, a specific time each day to do it. Keep it the same time, but also do consistent reading, even for short periods. It's going to add up like a small investment. And I'm going to add one more tip. Take some time at different periods to look back at where you once were. How far have you come? For some of you, that may be a little bit discouraging. That just means those investments need to be redirected towards the Bible and maybe less away from whatever distracted you. Saying that, looking back that may deeply encourage you, because God has brought you to a time of growth in your life. He doesn't bring us to times where we're stagnant. That's us. But he can bless your efforts as you continue to invest day after day after day in him. It makes a world of difference. Choose a Bible reading plan. Again, if we can help you out, if I can help you out, just let us know. message me directly, call me, text me. If you have my number, that's great. If you have Facebook Messenger, great. If you have Instagram Messenger, great. Just reach out, and I'd love to help out. That's it's all because honestly, it's like we say here at Oak Grove Church of Christ, we love God, we love one another, and we love you too. God bless. My phone haptics are on, so it kept on every once in a while buzzing.